The Silent Siege. How an HOA's theft of my ancestral land unleashed a legal reckoning carved in stone and steel. The first violation felt like a physical wound, a jagged gash torn through the emerald silence of the Blackwood meadow, where sunlight once dappled through ancient oaks my great-grandfather had spared from the timber cruise of 1889. I stood frozen at the fence line one chill April dawn, my breath misting in the air as I stared at the obscenity. Fluorescent surveyors' stakes driven deep into the loamy earth, their garish orange flags snapping in the wind like triumphant pennants. They marched in a ruthless column, not just skirting the boundary but plunging a full 300 yards into the heart of my land, past the stone cairn Granddad built to mark the spring-fed creek, past the grove of black walnuts Uncle Silas planted returning from Normandy, deep into the sheltered hollow where my daughter, wide-eyed at 6, had spotted her first red-tailed hawk's nest. When I confronted the Oakhaven Estates HOA manager, a man named Harrington with the polished condescension of a career bureaucrat, he waved a dismissive hand. Smirking. "Verifying easements, Mr. Thorne," he'd purred, his smile not reaching his cold, assessing eyes. "Modern development requires precision. Our updated survey shows a," long pause, "historical overlap." His updated survey, delivered days later by a smirking attorney in a suit worth more than my tractor, was a brazen fiction, a beautifully printed lie commissioned by the HOA and their developer partners, Sterling Crest Builders. It erased generations, redrawing lines with clinical precision to swallow 11 acres of my birthright, land deeded to Elias Thorne by presidential grant, its boundaries confirmed in county records older than the state itself. Their lawyer's letter was a gauntlet thrown. Coldly, "Groundbreaking commences Monday. Any interference will be met with immediate injunctive relief and claims for tortious interference and defamation." The message was clear. Their money, their lawyers, their momentum would bury me. Yet fury, cold and crystalline, hardened into something far more dangerous: resolve. My attorney, Eleanor Vance, a woman whose quiet intensity masked a legal mind like a scalpel, laid out the brutal calculus. A rushed injunction would bleed me dry fighting their endless appeals while Sterling Crest poured foundations. Thoughtful. "They want you to rage, James," she'd said, her gaze steady over her reading glasses. Calmly, "They expect a noisy, expensive fight they can drown in paperwork and delay. Give them silence. Give them rope." And so began the siege, not with shouts, but with the relentless, silent click of shutters and the whir of drones. While bulldozers roared, reducing grandmother's wildflower meadow to muddy scars, I walked the true boundary at dawn, a high-precision dairy at dawn, a high-precision GPS unit cold in my hand, meticulously logging every incursion, every felled oak marked with spray paint on its stump, every shattered stone cairn photographed beside the gleaming new steel pins I had a forensic surveyor embed deep into the bedrock, their coordinates immutable. Overhead, a drone captured weekly mosaics of the theft unfolding. Foundations poured precisely 215 feet over the line, utility trenches snaking through my maple grove, framing crews hammering walls where bluebells once bloomed. I became a ghost haunting their progress, securing quiet affidavits from weary site foremen over steaming thermoses of coffee, wearily. "Yeah, boss told us the markers near the creek were old news," muttering. "HOA guy said the old man wouldn't have the guts or the cash to fight." I paid a retired county land recorder, his integrity unquestioned for 50 years, to witness and notarize every critical trespass. The pour of foundation number 42 squarely atop the family plot markers, the installation of the community pool complex gouging into the sacred Hawks Ridge. Every signature, every time-stamped photo, every irrefutable GPS coordinate was a brick in the fortress I was building, while they, blinded by hubris and the clatter of their own machinery, poured concrete over quicksand. 2 years blurred by. The scar on the land transformed into Vista Point, Oakhaven's crown jewel. 69 towering estates with faux stone facades and triple-car garages, sold to unsuspecting families for sums that would have made my ancestors weep. Oakhaven's board chairman, Richard Vance, no relation to my attorney, a developer himself with fingers deep in sterling crest, hosted a gala celebration under a massive tent on the stolen meadow. Champagne flowed, speeches boasted of visionary transformation and overcoming obstacles, a veiled sneer aimed squarely at me. Boastfully, progress, Vance declared to thunderous applause, cannot be shackled by the past. That very night, as their laughter echoed, Eleanor uploaded the digital equivalent of a tactical nuke to the county courthouse server, a complaint spanning 2,317 pages. It wasn't just a lawsuit. It was an annihilation manual. Trespass to land, calculated daily from the first bulldozer's incursion, conversion, demanding not just the land's value, but the entire market value of all 69 completed homes, their structures deemed fixtures unlawfully placed on stolen property. Unjust enrichment, targeting every cent of profit Sterling Crest and the HOA reaped from lot sales and fees generated by the illegal development. Slander of title, for the deliberate clouding of my deed with their fraudulent survey. And the hammer blow, constructive trust, a demand that the court declare the HOA and Sterling Crest mere trustees holding all of Vista Point, its land and improvements, in trust for me, the rightful owner, effectively seeking title to every single house. The fallout was seismic, swift, and brutal. Homeowners received formal notices alongside stark aerial photos, their dream homes circled in red, labeled constructed on unlawfully converted, possession claim panic, raw and viral, exploded. The HOA's lawyer, his initial bluster crumbling upon seeing Exhibit 17, a hidden camera recording of a Sterling Crest site superintendent admitting he'd personally pulled up my grandfather's boundary stones on orders from upstairs, demanded mediation. Vance arrived, pale, stripped of his gala arrogance, flanked by Sterling Crest's CEO, whose hands trembled slightly. This is unprecedented. Ruinous, Vance stammered, facing Eleanor's glacial stare. Name a price, anything. But the evidence fortress was impregnable, the drone footage syncing every stage of construction to the true GPS pins. The developer's internal emails, just use Thorne's parcel, old survey's fuzzy, we'll draft a new one, he's a farmer, not a fighter. Bank records tracing lot sale proceeds, shuffled through shell companies. The retired land recorder's solemn testimony. Oakhaven's insurer voided their policy. Sterling Crest's stock plummeted. Homeowners, facing financial oblivion, revolted, recalling the entire HOA board in a single furious vote. Vance declared personal bankruptcy within weeks. Sterling Crest, hemorrhaging money and reputation, faced shareholder lawsuits. The settlement, forged under the shadow of a judge ready to grant the constructive trust, was less a negotiation and more a surrender document carved onto the HOA's tombstone. Absolute, indisputable title. The 11 acres comprising Vista Point and every structure upon it was irrevocably quieted in my name alone, the fraudulent surveys expunged forever. Perpetual, non-transferable easements. Homeowners could remain, but their dwellings now stood on my land, subject to ground rent leases initially set at $18,000 per lot annually, adjusted for inflation in perpetuity, payable directly to me. Liquidated damages. A single payment of $12.7 million from the remnants of the HOA's coffers and Sterling Crest's nearly empty accounts, compensating for environmental destruction, stolen timber, lost agricultural use, emotional distress, and every penny of legal cost. The stain of admission. A court-ordered publicly recorded declaration in every homeowner's deed stating the land was unlawfully developed and title vested solely in James Thorne, descendant of Elias Thorne, with the HOA and Sterling Crest found guilty of fraud and trespass. Oakhaven Estates HOA formally dissolved, its name synonymous with corruption. Sterling Crest filed for Chapter 11. The manicured lawns of Vista Point now bear discreet plaques at their entrances, not welcoming visitors, but stating the legal reality of ownership. The oaks are returning, saplings I planted ringing the cracked concrete of their clubhouse foundation. Every quarter, envelopes arrive, thick with checks bearing the names of families living on borrowed ground. The arrogant built monuments to their greed. I reclaimed a legacy and ensured their grand theft became nothing more than a cautionary tale, etched in legal precedent and the slow, sure reclaiming power of roots breaking stone. They stole land, dreaming of profit. They forged their own ruin, paying for eternity in the currency of their own hubris.